second reading of the Trade, Anti-Dumping and Countervailing Duties Amendment Bill. Like other members on both sides of the House, want to acknowledge the new Minister, the Honourable Jackie Dean. I've had the pleasure of working with her in a number of fields, but most recently on the Health Committee. It gives me great confidence as she takes over this role and bringing herself up to speed, as she is clearly doing in this area and others that the Commerce Committee is looking through. Look, a number of members have touched on an array of themes which I don't intend to overly repeat. I think someone used earlier the word robust. That's certainly how the committee has approached this. There's been free and frank discussion. I think both sides, both government and opposition, have drawn their lines fairly clearly. On this side, we see this as a positive step, that the existing legislation does not allow a public interest test to exist, an opportunity, if you will, for, well, it's that old adage that the law is made for the man and not the other way around. So this is an opportunity for the minister, man or woman, to be able to look with good advice through the likes of MB officials to go, are there actually benefits to the consumer which outweigh the benefit, if you will, of continuing a duty? And one only thinks the construction industry. In fact, it was out of report from the construction industry which has been the catalyst for this legislation. So one way that I look at this is, again, simply an ability for us to review, humanise, if you will, the decisions made, and not just have it as a simple process instead of laws which absolutely lock the situations in. And I think that in itself becomes well expressed as further expressions in the bill demonstrate that in the times of natural disasters, that again the minister can intervene and say, look, you know, those duties have to lapse. It's in the greater good, the public good, that they prevail. So again, lines are clearly drawn. Interesting to hear the debate. I know there's going to be plenty more of it in this and other stages, and I commend it to the House.
The next call is a split call. Mojo Mathis, 5 minutes.
Thank you. Okay, that's my pleasure.